I'm going to demonstrate a little bit different technique of pruning fruit trees here in the tropics than maybe practiced here much in the past. And I'm going to show you the importance of the first initial cuts that you're making in determining the size and also determining what you can plant under the tree. So if you look at this jackfruit here, the limbs are already established beginning at this point. We don't, at this age, don't have any opportunity to try to get the limbs established any lower. So if we move over here to this star apple, notice that this is much too old now. We cannot establish anything lower branches. This is a tall tree now. We don't have any opportunity to try to get the fruit lower on the tree. That is, opportunity is past. If we had been pruning at the very first, when this was first planted, we could have made our first cut when it was small right here. That would have established limbs lower to the ground. Perhaps on star fruit it could be this, around this height, with limbs close to the ground. If we make that initial cut here, that will cause the branches to begin to form. But in this particular case, they're already started high, which is traditional for, I think, in the Philippines. So we'll notice something else. Look at the suckering from the trunk. This tells us something about the growth habit of star fruit, that the growth habit will sucker from older wood. That's good to know, because if we need to make any cuts into large wood, we can expect it to sucker like that. Let me go back over here to jackfruit. There are three things that we're going to try to acknowledge, try to recognize when we're pruning. First of all is to establish the architecture of the tree. The architecture means where the limbs are coming from the trunk, because as the tree grows, the limbs will not get any higher. They're going to be right at that point where they're first made. The second thing we're going to do is open up the tree for better light penetration. If you look at the canopy of this tree, this is the dry season. It has had very little irrigation. It's now into April. And in April, with the rains coming soon, it has done very well with very little irrigation applied to it. But the canopy is too tight. The canopy does not allow for good light penetration inside the canopy for fruit production. The limbs for jackfruit are about the right height, so I'm not worried about that too much with it. But what we're going to do now is look at the architecture of the tree, and I'll show you what's good and what's possibly not good and we can improve, okay? If we look at the architecture of the tree inside, this means looking at where the limbs are placed. This limb is trying to grow out from this jackfruit, and it's very weak because there's not enough light to get to it. Most people would prune it out. I would like to keep it and try to open the canopy. By opening the canopy, what I'm going to do is first of all check the architecture. Are the leaves coming out in appropriate places from the trunk? It is. I don't like this one. It's crossing over another one. It's going to come out. So right now I am pruning for the architecture, to improve the architecture of the tree. I'm removing some of these things to give us limb placement at the proper places with enough distance for the fruit to hang and that we can harvest. The second thing I'm going to do is look at the growth on these branches. If the growth is going down or up, generally speaking, I'm going to remove it. There's one going up, here's one that's coming down. For better light penetration, if we try to open it so that the light can get inside the canopy, we're going to have better fruit production than we will if we don't. Here's one that's going straight up here. If you'll see on this one, you see on this going straight up, it's going to come out like that. In fact, I don't like, I'll leave this for now. I don't like it very much, but see how weak it is? In order to stiffen it, we're going to cut it back. By cutting it back, this will cause the secondary growth to increase, and we've now inhibited the primary growth. Primary growth is what extends it forward. Secondary growth is what makes it wider. By removing the tips in here, we cause secondary growth to begin to be more active and reducing it. The other reason it's stretching is there's not enough light in here. So when we open this more for light penetration, this will also improve as well. As I walk around the tree, now I'm going to get rid of things that are up above and down below. The latex is starting to drip on me from these cuts. Also, the leaves on the inside of the tree, if they're not getting enough light, they're actually going to take energy away from the tree. They're not going to help at all. So it's best to try to open that tree for better light penetration. This one is going straight up. This one is, it's weak. This one is in competition. It's coming out. This one is going straight up. This is going straight out. I'm going to stiffen this branch. How do I stiffen the branch? Remember, primary growth is forward, secondary growth is sideways. I stiffen it by cutting it back. So by cutting it back, then I'll stiffen this branch more so it can bear the weight of that fruit. Here's another one that's going straight up. I want these to be more two-dimensional. I want the limb placement far enough apart so that then this growth is two-dimensional, not three-dimensional. If it's three-dimensional, it won't allow light to enter into the canopy. So I'm going through here and removing stuff that is going straight up or straight down or interfering with light. Notice how weak this is? What do? I cut it back. I cut it back to try to encourage secondary growth. That's the growth again that will increase the strength of that limb. You see already we're starting to get better light penetration in here. I don't like that one. Now I'm coming around to this branch. I'm going to do the same thing. This branch, I'm looking at growth growing straight up. I'm removing that first. And stuff that's going down, stuff that's going up. This one is going up. And now this one's going down. This is going down. And I'm cutting it back. Remember, cutting it back strengthens that branch. Now we move around the tree and continue over here. Growth that's going straight up, I'm going to eliminate. Growth that's going straight down, I'm going to eliminate. On this branch, now we see better light penetration inside the canopy. What's the last thing I do if the branch is weak? I cut it back. Encourage secondary growth again. Look how weak this one is. It's mostly because there was too much shade. You know, with jackfruit being so big, let's eliminate this. The fruit being so big, let's eliminate that one. Now we're coming around the tree again, and I'm looking for ways to open up the canopy over here. I'm looking for growth that's growing straight up. Straight up and straight down. I'm getting rid of the stuff up, because when you have it in two-dimensional plane and there's space far enough, light can enter into the inside. What's the last thing I do? I'll go ahead and cut it back to give it a good secondary. Notice how this one is right on top. This one is right on top of this one, shading it. I'm taking that one out, because even if it did produce, it would hit that limb anyway. Now that opened it up further. I come around here. We got some webbing in here. I'm going to get rid of some stuff that's going straight up and straight down. Again, straight up, straight up. Now don't just do what I tell you to do, think about it. And if the branch doesn't need to be thickened, or it's small fruit that doesn't need a lot of strength, you won't, perhaps may not need to cut it back. But this is jackfruit. I need to strengthen that branch. Is there anything else that's contributing shade to this canopy? I'm going to get rid of it. I want better light penetration inside the tree. This one, going back over here now, I'm going to do the same thing. I've been opening up the canopy a little bit. I'm looking for stuff that's going straight up. I'm getting rid of that stuff. I'm getting rid of stuff that's competing and going straight down. Opening up that canopy a little bit more. This is going down. Get rid of that. I want to increase the strength on this because it's jackfruit. I don't like this double limb right here so much. I'll leave it for now. I'll come back and look at it the next time I prune and see. You got to cut both of them. If we cut one of them, got to cut both of them, or they won't. One will outcompete the other one. This one, I want to get rid of that one. Go straight out. Okay, we need to work around the entire tree opening up. Did you see how the canopy is now open for better light penetration into the tree? Did you see how that was done? Because what we did is we looked at the architecture of the tree. Then we also went and looked at where the limb placement is, not leaving any stubs here. Where the limb placement is on the tree. We also then looked at opening up the canopy to allow better light penetration. We did that by removing the stuff growing up and down, allowing light to penetrate between the branches. If the branches needed to be strengthened, we did what? We cut it back to give good secondary growth. The last thing we're going to do, and I'm not going to do it because I'm just not too old anymore, but we're going to get up there and take the top out of it. When we do that, I'll show you how we're going to do that. But right now, I need something to get up there, okay? Okay, the next thing we need to do is to take the top out. If we can